There is nothing wrong with wanting to be better. And you can at the same time, because humans are wonderful, complex things. You can appreciate what you have, but want it to be slightly better. Want to do better. Want to get better. That's why people continue to go to school into their, let's take my journey, my personal journey, that I think I will at some point put into more detail. I was an 8th grade dropout. Over 35. I have been manager at every job in the food service and grocery industry I had since I was in my 20s. I had always done this. I would always start out telling them, hire me at minimum wage, I'll work my way up. They would typically look at me, kind of smirk, and then I would outwork. Luckily, because my father taught me at a young age that you work harder than than everybody you see. Don't worry about the ones you can't, but work harder than everybody that's standing around you. So that's what I did, is I outworked everybody. I worked my butt off. But I wasn't happy with where I was. Although I was grateful for what I had done, and for all the lessons that I had learned and everything that I had done, was grateful for it. I appreciated everything I had. I had a house, my kids are healthy, I have food in my belly, I have a roof over my head, I have shoes under my feet. I had everything I needed, but there is nothing wrong with wanting to be better. I started feeling this guilt because I hadn't graduated, and as my children got older, what was I going to do if they came to me and said, I'm dropping out of school? How could I tell them no without being a complete hypocrite? Oh yeah, and Mom been like, that's like, I have another shelf and a half. Most of them I get through like birthday presents and stuff like that. So I can put them up over here. I love this stuff. What I do is I felt like, well, what about my children? And they ever tell me, well, I want to drop out. How was I going to tell them they couldn't? That was the unselfishness. The selfishness was, I was told in the 8th grade, the reason I dropped out is because I was told by 2 teachers as I was sitting after school trying to get help because I was in my 2nd time through the 8th grade. I had 2 teachers tell me that they didn't understand why they were helping me because I was too stupid to graduate. And I believed every word they said. That is why I dropped out, because if I wasn't smart enough to graduate, why take the time? And so what I did was, I let that run my life for such a long time. Man, I believed it. The thought, like, I had tried other times in my life to go get my GED, and it would literally put me into a panic attack. I was terrified that they were going to be proven right. I was shooken. I would get physically, I'm saying physically to the point of vomit, sick from the thought of going and taking that test. That is how afraid I was. I was working at a bowling alley in the snack bar. I was in charge of the snack bar, like I said, management on, every food service and grocery thing I did. And I was tired of it. I was tired of being I was tired of doing that kind of work and just kind of being destined to only be that for the rest of my life. Yeah, you're right. It could have been worse. I had enough money. I paid my rent. I paid my bills. My kids have clothes on their back. I had clothes. Things could have been so much worse. But they could have been so much better too. So what did I... Because I had nothing saved up for retirement. I had no health care. No kind of insurance. The stuff for my children I paid for. Out of pocket. No benefits. Nothing. I had nothing. Although it could have been a lot worse. It had to be better, and I was tired of wanting better and not being able to achieve it. That because although I have all this experience as manager and as a hard worker, and I did not have a single job that I didn't have for less than 5 years. Nothing. I had never not had a job less than 5 years, typically working 2 or 3 of them at a time. I swear to God, I worked 2 full-time jobs and a part-time job at one point in my life. I slept 4 hours a night if I slept. There were shifts that I got off from one job, went to another job, got off from that job, slept in my car for 3 hours so that I could be at my next job. It could have been worse, but I could have been so much better. So rather than allowing myself to be terrified for the rest of my life, I took the last little bit of money I had in my wallet and I went up and I signed up for GED classes. I went, I took them, and I went every day. Every day they were open, I was in there for at least 3 hours. And it was... And I overworked too. Honest to God, I think I was trying to shake the fear out of me is why I was studying so hard. Because I knew I was going to fail that test at least once. I knew it. And so what I did is I went and I took that test. And I took the pre-test and I started studying, and then I got the pre-test results back. And the exact line that the person there said is, "You could take it today and pass." And everything in me wanted me to look her in the face and call her a liar. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to look that woman in the face and tell her she was wrong, that I couldn't do it. I studied for a little bit longer just so I felt better, and I took the GED test over 2 days. They split it up. There's 4 subjects. I took 2 on one day, 2 on the other day. I always thought the hardest thing I was ever going to do was take that test. It's not. The hardest thing I've ever done in my life is wait to find out if I passed that test or not. Because I was positive that I was going to fail it. I knew it in my bones. Then I found out that I passed. Then I found out that I passed well enough that the GED was given through at the local library through the local community college. And so the graduation for this the GED, because in the state of Kansas, the GED, and like I said, it was at the library, but it was through the local community college, and they wanted me to speak. They wanted me to talk at the graduation. They had 2 speakers, and they wanted me to be one of them. And I didn't have a problem talking in front of people. I spent 7 years as a professional wrestler. In other words, I got paid money for other people to pretend they were beating me up. It was great. But I also learned how to talk in front of people by doing that. So what happened was I go and I give this speech, and a lot of what I'm talking about right now, about how I felt like I couldn't do it. How I felt like I was told I wasn't smart enough to graduate, and I believed it for so long. And I wanted to be able to look at my kids in the face and tell them that they could do it, because how was I ever going to tell them if I didn't do it myself? And then I found out that they had while I was at the graduation, I found out they had a scholarship that the top 1% of people who pass the score gets a scholarship to that college. And I got it. Me and 3 other people, and I was one of them. And I decided to go to college, and my initial thought process was, I can now say I am a college dropout and not not an 8th grade dropout. So that right there propels me into a different realm that I've never been in before. So I go and I sign up. What do you want to go to school for? And there's a lot of stuff. I chose business because I felt, and I still do, it is the widest net to catch the best opportunity. I don't regret going to school for business. If I would have done it over again, I probably would have picked a more like technical one, something in the computer sciences, but I'm completely happy I chose business. I chose business administration with the thought that I got this free semester of school. I'm going to go and I'm going to take it and not do well, because what do I deserve? I don't belong in college. And so what I did is then I got into these classes, and I had a couple teachers who were really amazing and cared and took interest in what I was doing and made me feel like I could do it. I had to sacrifice so much time, freedom. I was going from one to another. I was working full-time. I was school full-time, spending as much time as I could with my children. I quit doing hobbies that I had at the time because I had to focus. And I told my dad what I was doing, and his exact reply was, well, we'll see. I'm fine. I've told this story a lot, man. And you'll understand why it gets to me. Absolutely, they do. And I was lucky enough that any time life got confusing, I've always been the person people could come to and talk to. I've always been, if they have a problem, if they have an issue, they come to me, and I never tell them what to do. I always kind of understood the right questions to ask them to make them figure it out themselves. Because sometimes you don't even know what the question is. I've been there. You're sitting there and you know that you're missing something, or that something just doesn't feel right, and you don't even know what the question is. And I always was the one who could do it for other people, but I was not. The problem is like you can never do it for yourself, and I always had my mom. I moved to this house that I'm living in right now because it was literally 2 blocks away from my mom. No, man, you're good. Don't worry about it. No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it at all. Um, you're not, yeah. And this is the first time I've ever done the just chatting section, so this is new to me too. And so my mom was always that person. I understand that they have to figure things out for themselves, but what you can do is you can point them in the correct direction to the question. And once you have that question, finding the answer becomes easier. And I always had my mom, and I went and I told my dad what I was doing, and his exact reply to me telling him that I'm going to college was, we'll see. But my mom knew I could do it. Like, she, never had a doubt. Everybody's different, man. Everybody's different, and that's okay. One thing, and I think I said this before you hopped in, different strokes for different folks. Just because it works for me and it is the advice I'd give you does not mean that it's going to fit you like a glove. Doesn't mean it's going to be 100% correct. What I do hope it does is it opens your eyes to a new probability or a new possibility that helps you. I am not going to sit here and tell you I have all the answers. Far from it. What I have is experience. What I have is my beliefs. What I have is a strong conviction in what I believe. And I hopes that, and my hope is not to change your mind or to push you one direction or the other, but hopefully open your mind to a different possibility that perhaps you didn't think of before. So what I did is I told my mom always, hey, good night to you, man. I hope you come back in. I appreciate you. By the way, I'm Sir Logan Moore. I typically stream Destiny 2. I will be streaming Anthem as soon as it releases, and every Saturday for the first hour or so of my stream, I will be doing this here just chatting thing, talking about whatever it is I thought of that day. So, please come back in. I hope to see you again. It was wonderful talking to you. But my mom always was the one who was able to tell me, I was able to go to her for anything, and she believed that I could go and do this, that I could graduate college even though I didn't. And this goes into the whole goals things and how they don't always, how goals don't always go the way you want them. Because my goal was, I really wanted my mom to see me graduate college. About right after the second semester of college started, she got diagnosed with cancer. And she fought it for 6 months and was clean for a year. But then it came back. And it came back, and then her kidneys shut down. They couldn't give her a transplant because of the cancer, and they couldn't cure the cancer because of the kidneys. I always say my mom died of cancer, but it probably was the kidneys, because that kills a lot faster than the cancer. I wanted her to see me graduate, and she died the day after Thanksgiving. The semester I was going to graduate. I graduated in December. Hardest thing I've ever gone through, and to this day still is. But I know she'd be proud of me that I did that. That I went and I graduated. Like, I'm getting emotional and I can't help it. I'm never going to be able to tell this story without it. Because something that I was supposed to be super proud of, like was supposed to be like my proudest moment, will always kind of be like, I don't know, like feel like it's tainted because it'll feel like it's tainted because it's going to be married with the passing of my mom. But like it was literally like we were still on break for Thanksgiving, and it was like I had to take care of, because I'm the oldest. I had to go take care of all of her stuff. I had to take care of her estate, the funeral. I'm the oldest, so it was my responsibility to take care of all this. She wasn't even, like, we weren't even done with the service and stuff. And she passed. When she passed, we weren't even done with the service when I went back and got my last few weeks in and then took my finals. So, anyway, my cat's angry apparently.